It started subtly, a whisper on the edge of hearing just as I was drifting off to sleep. A murmur, like a distant radio playing in another house. It came from the room at the end of the hall, the one that's been locked since we moved in. The landlord said the key was lost ages ago, that it was just used for storage. Nothing to worry about. But the whispers grew. Night after night, they became clearer. Not one voice, but several, tangled together in a soft, constant conversation. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone. It was conversational, sometimes hushed, sometimes with a lilt of laughter. It was eerie. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was the pipes, the house settling, my imagination running wild in the quiet of the night. I mentioned it to my roommate, Alex. He just laughed. "Old houses make weird noises, man. You're just freaking yourself out." He'd put on his headphones and drift off, leaving me alone with the disembodied conversation down the hall. My friends were the same. "You're probably just dreaming it," Sarah said over coffee one afternoon, patting my hand condescendingly. They all thought I was losing it. The looks they exchanged when they thought I wasn't watching. A mix of pity and concern. It made me feel more isolated than ever. So I started documenting it. I'd press my phone against my ear, straining to record anything, but all I ever got was static. It was like the voices existed only for me. A private, nightly haunting. I tried sleeping with earplugs, with white noise machines, but it was useless. The sounds weren't traveling through the air. It felt like they were being transmitted directly into my head. The loneliness was crushing. Was I going crazy? The doubt gnawed at me, a constant companion to the fear. One night, exhausted and desperate, I pressed my ear directly against the cold wood of the door. The voices were clearer than ever before. It sounded like a small gathering, a calm discussion. I could almost pick out a few distinct tones, a low, gentle baritone, and a higher, melodic female voice. There was no malice, no anger, just conversation. It was the normalcy of it that was so terrifying. A few weeks later, my sister, Chloe, came to stay for the weekend. I was a wreck, sleep-deprived and on edge. I didn't want to tell her, didn't want another person to look at me like I was broken. The first night, we stayed up late watching movies. Around 2 a.m., as the credits rolled and the living room fell silent, she suddenly froze. Her head tilted. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her eyes wide, fixed on the hallway. My heart hammered against my ribs. I could barely breathe. "Hear what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "It sounds like people talking," she said, her voice barely audible. "Down the hall. Is Alex still up?" I shook my head, tears of sheer, unadulterated relief stinging my eyes. "No," I whispered back. "He's asleep." We sat there in the silence, listening together. The muffled chatter from the locked room continued, oblivious to its new audience. Finally, someone else heard it. I wasn't crazy. The relief was so profound it almost buckled me. Chloe grabbed my hand, her knuckles white. "What is that?" The next day, we told Alex. He was skeptical, of course, but seeing the genuine fear on both our faces made him pause. That night, the three of us sat on the floor of the hallway, a silent vigil outside the locked door. The house was dead quiet. 1 hour passed, then 2. Alex was starting to look smug. "See? Nothing," he started to say, but then he stopped. His expression shifted. It was a subtle change at first, a slight frown, then his eyes widened in disbelief. "No way," he breathed. The voices had started, a soft, indistinct hum at first, then coalescing into their familiar conversational rhythm. We weren't scared anymore. We were fascinated. The next few nights were like a science experiment. We tried to make out words, to understand the language. It was English, but the cadence was strange, the phrases archaic. It was like listening to a play from a bygone era. We started taking shifts, logging the times the voices started and stopped. They were remarkably consistent, beginning around 1:30 a.m. and fading out just before dawn. One night, emboldened by our shared experience, Alex had an idea. He was a musician, a sound tech. "If we can't record it through the air, maybe we can record the vibrations," he suggested. He came back with a contact microphone, the kind you stick directly onto a surface. He carefully affixed the small disc to the center of the door and ran the cable back to his laptop. We huddled around the screen, headphones on, and waited. The moment the voices began, the sound flooded our ears. It was crystal clear. It was a family, a man, a woman, and what sounded like 2 children. They were talking about their day. The little girl was describing a bird she saw in the garden. The father was gently teasing his son about tracking mud into the house. The mother was humming a lullaby. They weren't ghosts in the terrifying sense. They were an echo, a moment of happy domestic life, trapped in a loop, replaying every single night within the 4 walls of that room. The fear was completely gone, replaced by a profound sadness. This wasn't a haunting, it was a memory, preserved in a way we couldn't comprehend. We never tried to open the door again. We didn't need to. The room wasn't a prison for some malevolent spirit. It was a sanctuary for a memory of a family's love. We still hear them, of course, every night. But now, when I hear them, I don't feel fear. I don't feel alone. I listen to the gentle laughter, the soft conversations, and I smile. It's a nightly reminder that we are just one small story in a house that has held so many others. They're my secret, nocturnal neighbors, and in a strange way they've become part of our home. And sometimes late at night when the house is quiet and my roommates are asleep, I'll whisper back through the door, "Good night." I don't know if they can hear me, but it feels right. Thanks so much for watching this story unfold with me. It's a strange world, isn't it? If you enjoy tales of the unexplained and the quietly beautiful, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell so you do not miss our next adventure into the unknown. See you next time.